information out of websites that are sort of structured and convert them back into a format you can use it. So many web pages nowadays actually come directly out of databases, right? Hardly anyone goes and types their web page, the code, the HTML directly, and then types in things. Most of the people use some sort of system to create the websites. And many websites are created this way, that they come directly out of a database, and then you have the certain fields. And I will stop here to make you translate.
Vale. Primero de todo, disculpadme por el retraso. Ya estamos un poquito mejor que en la sala anterior. Esto no lo ha dicho él, esto es mi chorizo. ¿Queréis que traduzca entonces lo que va diciendo, no? ¿Me podéis levantar la mano los que no habéis entendido lo que acabo de comentar? O sea, pero entonces yo te voy a ir parando y voy a ir traduciendo, ¿vale? ¿O tiene más sentido? O sea, quiero saber cuánta gente sois, porque si solo es una persona, me pongo al lado de esa persona y no paramos. ¿Quiénes? Vuelvo a preguntar. ¿Quiénes no habéis entendido lo que ha dicho él? No pasa nada, por favor, salid del armario. Es para saber si hacemos la charla toda él o si voy traduciendo. Entonces es una duda importante.
Yo lo que ha dicho en el documento, ¿cómo lo podemos obtener? Los que ha hecho muy deprisa.
Vale, bueno, entonces voy a ir traduciendo, ¿vale? Bueno, primero de todo, ¿tenéis el documento ahí? This is the URL with the presentation,
yes.
Right?
Just this document with the step-by-step instruction.
Documento, yo voy a ir traduciendo entonces con él, ¿vale? Si hay alguna duda que no levantéis.
Quizás sea mejor que si somos
son solo dos.
Realmente.
Claro, por eso. ¿Sois solo dos seguro o no? Porque hemos empezado.
Se pueden poner y te pones.
Claro, eso, por eso. ¿Sois dos? ¿Hay alguien más que no entienda? Vale, pues entonces. Sí, me pongo. Ponte, ¿qué te parece? Allí detrás. O vente, perdona, vente aquí delante y yo voy traduciendo, por si acaso necesitas alguna duda.
So you do a private session over there, talking all the time?
Tú copia la URL, y entonces en la URL verás este documento.
Sí, pero no nos podemos quedar como documento.
Sí, te lo copias, te lo pegas en un Word.
So this is SCBCN.
Ok. Bueno, como todos entendéis en inglés, supuestamente, Michael, you're going to do it by yourself.
Okay. So I'm on my own now?
Yeah, you're on your own, sorry.
Michael, we have a micro in 3 minutes.
Okay.
You can start.
But can you hear me at the back? Can you hear me well? Okay, then I'll just start, and whenever the micro comes, I'll talk a little more quiet and protect my voice. So, as I mentioned before, a lot of websites actually don't come directly written by hand by people, but they come out of some sort of database. And they have some sort of structure to it, because the computer takes this field out of the database and puts it there, and takes this field out of the database and puts it there. And what we are going to do in that right now is reverse this process, right? Scraping does nothing else but reverse the process of creation of the website into creation of the raw data and the raw material the website is created from. I want you to ask that anytime you have any questions, anytime something is unclear, please interrupt me, ask questions. If I talk too fast, if things are not clear, if I talk in sort of gibberish technological way and you don't understand this, interrupt me, ask questions. I'm sure you're not the only one with the question in the room, because usually it takes a lot of courage to ask. So today we're going to deal with different ways, with 3 different ways or 2 different ways mainly, to convert data from a website back into a spreadsheet, to be able to use it on a computer effectively. And later on, I think John will show you how to use spreadsheets for quick analysis and how to find things in data using spreadsheets. So for this, I looked around the internet what I can find about Barcelona, and I found this nice website of the city government, and they have a lot of statistics there, which makes me happy, because sometimes if I'm in a city, I want to know something about it. I want to know how do households look like, how many people live in which district, things like this, and they have all this. If we, for example, can you read the screen, or should I make the font larger? Font larger. So they have all this all the statistics. This is the English interface, although it will turn into Spanish or Catalan or some language I don't understand later. So they have the population and household statistics, for example, and they have household characteristics for different years. And so I can look at 2012, they sort of looked at this, and they looked at, in the districts of Barcelona, in how old are people living in households, right? Or how many households are there where there is one 16 to 48-year-old person? And this is male and female and so on. They also looked at different things. Where's this nice tables? They also looked at how many people live in a household. So how many one-person households do we have? How many two-person households do we have? How many three-person households do we have? And so on. And you see this is presented as a nice table, but I'm missing something if I want to use this as a journalist or as an interested person or build something on this. I miss a download button, right? They never say, hey, by the way, this is where you can download the data and use it. It's public information. It's there from the city. I should be able to use it, right? So I have to find other ways to get this data out. And to get this out, I want to introduce HTML quickly to you and introduce things you can do with HTML. I'm using Google Chrome for all these examples. I would recommend, if you try to do something like this, to use it, because it's a very good browser that's made for developers. Title, and the title is this. Here's a table, and the table contents. So the table rows are this, and the table data fields, the cells in the data are this, in the table are this. And this is exactly what we hope to find here, right? This could be an image, but luckily they made this right, and you can see I can copy and paste the text, and this is sort of a real table. Let's look into HTML, and I do this by using a function that comes with Chrome called inspect element. So if you have Chrome installed in your computer and go to this link, I think this is the link I linked to in the document, so you can find the first example in the document and just open the link. This is one of the options I get when I right-click on it. You will get a pop-up on the bottom showing all these complicated things. It shows you the HTML text that's there, and it shows you things about how the computer was told this should be displayed and should be shown. I make this a little smaller so we can see this nicely. You can see I'm right now here. This is what I selected, right? This looks quite complicated. But you can see that there is this pointy bracket thing that goes all the way to here. And then it says 1.ciudad bella and some crazy stuff and a pointy bracket thing. So the pointy bracket things you can see all the way here, we call tags. So these are this is how the computer knows this is a structural element. This is how we tell the computer this is a structural element. And the name of this tag, so what's the first group of letters or the first word in this tells it what kind of element this is or what kind of item this is we're describing right now. And if you look up there, there's one thing that says table. Do you see this? So this tells us, or tells the browser, that what is supposed to be there is a table. This is very good because we want a table, right? Then it tells us, okay, this is a table body, and then it has this TR thing. TR is short for table row. So each of the TR, if we hover over it, you will see this. Each of the TR things here, you see this, how it goes down in the blue markings? So each of these TR things is one row in the table. So it is a very, very clear structure we can start working with. And if we are in a row, like we are here, we have a lot of these things called TD. You see all these TD things here? Here, here, here. And this is basically the data that's in the table. So this is the basic structure of an HTML table, right? There's a table, a thing that tells us it's a table. Then there's a thing that tells us it's a row. And then there are things that tell us this is data fields in this row. And you can see it's very nicely structured. Unlike the documents Manuel had to fight with, this is very nicely structured because it tells us this is a row, and in the row we have this information, this information, this information, this information. So we can try to convert this back. You look very critical there. Are you, everyone following still? So we will do this, right? In the next few minutes, we will spend time to turn this into a table, and I will show you two different methods that are both very easy and quick. The first one I will show you is how to use a Google spreadsheet to get this table into a spreadsheet. To turn this table into a spreadsheet. We will use Google Spreadsheets. So if you open, I think I need to make this bigger now. If you open Google Drive and you create a new spreadsheet, which I can do by simply saying, hey, create a spreadsheet for me, you will get an empty spreadsheet. So this looks very much like Microsoft Excel or like LibreOffice, Calc, like any other spreadsheet programs. One nice thing about Google Spreadsheets, though, is that they have certain formulas that don't exist in Microsoft Excel or don't exist in LibreOffice. And they have some formulas for getting data out of websites into the spreadsheet. Who has worked with spreadsheets before in the room? Do I need to? Nearly everyone. Who has worked with formulas in the spreadsheet before? Who has written their own formulas? Who has written really, really complicated stuff in spreadsheets? One person maybe. One person in the back. Great. So a spreadsheet is basically a table that's represented in your computer, and you can enter sort of information here, be it numbers or text or dates. And you can perform simple calculations with it. And you can perform, like I can put here, you can use formulas, and formulas always start with an equal sign to do things like add this field and this field together. I need to write the plus. And then have it automatically calculate this. And whenever one field changes, if I decide this is not 13, this is 15, this field automatically updates, right? So I can perform simple calculations on it. I can perform more complicated calculations on it. I can have it automatically sum things or count things if certain conditions are true, and things like this. But what we are going to use today is a formula that's made for importing tables from websites or lists from websites into a spreadsheet. And unsurprisingly, because formulas always, or functions in formulas always have really good names, this is called import HTML. Oh, so and you saw as I was typing that I get a little help box here of Google Spreadsheet that tells me how it wants this formula or this function to look like. So it tells me URL. Everyone knows what the URL is? Great. So we have the URL. It asks me for a query. So what do I want to see? And it asks me for an index. The URL is very, very easy in our case, right? We want to have data from this website, right? So simply paste it, copy it. I need to put quotation marks, then paste it, and then close the quotation marks. This is to tell the computer it doesn't have to do anything with it. Just take this as I write it. And then it asks me for comma and a query. The query is which element or what type of thing do I want to look at. right? What type of thing do I want to extract out of this website? And in our case, we said there's a table, and this table contains all the information we're interested in. So what we will do is write quotation marks table, quotation mark, and this tells the spreadsheet, I want to have the table out of this web page. And if there are multiple tables, the computer doesn't really know which table we want to have. So we have to tell it which table we want to have in there. So some web pages contain 2 or 3 tables. Yes, there's a question.
The URL you used.
Yes. You good? Yes. And I just copied over. Another question?
What are the other possible queries and where can I find them?
You can query everything that's sort of a structured element in HTML. So you could also query for example, for lists and things like this. I will try to show you lists later on, and then you simply would put the list marker in there and say, hey, I'm interested in this list. We can actually play around with this later on a little bit as well. The most common one to use here is really the table one, because you often use it, or I often use it when I want to have a table quickly out of a web page into the spreadsheet and work with it. So sometimes web pages don't contain only one table, they contain multiple, so we have to tell our computer or the spreadsheet which table to pick. In our case, I think it's the first table. This sometimes is not obvious. So if you type a 1 here and it gives you something wrong, try type a 2 and see where it is on the table. And if it's still wrong, try go on and find the right table you want to extract. But I think in this case it's 1. I simply close the parentheses afterwards and press enter. And you see there's a tiny thing saying loading. And it magically filled my spreadsheet with the information that was in this website. So if you see this, it doesn't understand all the Spanish characters though, right? Make some crazy stuff here. Everyone got this? You have an error? Error? Okay. The error means you probably made something wrong in this, in your formula. Check whether you have the quotation marks around everything, whether you have the commas. You copied it from my document? So this one? This should be, so you copied this one. Is that correct? Let me see whether I get the same error. Yes, why is this?
Yes, it's the bracket. Separar por coma, pero separar por punto. Cambiant només les cometes estaven així en cursiva, les borres blanques.
Ah, I see what it is. So unfortunately, in the document, unfortunately in this document, Google Docs tries to be smart and replace my quotation marks with more beautiful quotation marks. And this ends up being not what the spreadsheet expects. So I have to go back, figure out how to fix this. So if you simply go and change all your quotation marks in the formula to the proper simple quotation mark, it should work.
Also the comma, in English the comma works, but in Spanish version of the, it doesn't work the comma. It's the
So you have to put the semicolon probably. Yes. So another good comment from here. In English the comma works, but if you have a Spanish version of the spreadsheet, it doesn't expect a comma but a semicolon as a separation of the arguments. This is because I think the comma is a decimal separator in Spanish, right? So in all languages where we have decimal separators as commas, unfortunately this thing is slightly different and asks, instead of the comma here, it asks for a semicolon. So a comma with a dot.
punto y coma,
Punto y coma. So this character.
En vez de la coma que separa el table y el uno, punto y coma.
Is this big enough? I will simply write this here.
Al que entro en el botograma.
What is wrong here? There's something wrong with my...
Sí, no, si enseñarles están entrando porque están teniendo... Se me voy a meter el juego.
Sí, sí.
Ah, no hay que checar. Ah, espera, que no hay que hablar de teléfono. Ya está. Al micro inalámbrico ya funciona. Vale, venga.
You want to use the microphone?
I'm good.
You want to use
Yeah. Do we have the microphone set up?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me? Does this work? Does it still work back there? Okay, great. Because now I can't hear myself that loud anymore. I can. So my voice is good for after this workshop as well. I come from a different planet. I come in peace. So it's really hard to focus like this. So everyone's got something useful out of this formula? Okay, very good. There's still one question?
Where do you find the table number in the page inspector?
You would go and search for how many tables this is, but usually there aren't that many tables, and it's easier to just try 1, 2, 3 until you get the right table. So if I don't get the right table out in the first try, some web pages do this. I just put the 2 here, and then I see where it goes, and then I put the 3 here, and I see where it goes, and until I found the right table. But usually websites don't contain that many tables, so you don't really need to count. It actually counts. If you want to understand how this works, or which table you should take, what you can do is you can go up all the way and try to count or show the whole source code of the page and try to count the table elements, because it goes down just in a line, right? It goes the first element, the second, the third, and so on. Okay, so now we have not this, but this. We have a, oh no, I have to finish this. So now we have the table out, and we can start working with it, right? One thing we need to do is probably to clean this table up. So save it and then clean it up so that the names are correctly here, and so on. And remove things like this that are in the table but don't have any significance for us working with this data. The second way I want to show you how to get structured information out of websites is a slightly more powerful way. And it's called, and this is one of the reasons I nowadays mostly use Google Chrome. And it's called the scraper extension of Google Chrome. So unfortunately, this extension is a tiny plugin that's written for the browser. And unfortunately, no other browser has a plugin that's similar. I talked to some person from Mozilla who's trying to write this, but I haven't seen it yet, so it's not there yet. To install this extension, you go to the Chrome Web Store, which is, if you open a new tab, it's right there, and you look at all the fancy ads for fancy games you can play. But since we're not interested in games, we want to search what we want. And the search, so the name of the extension is simply Scraper. So you see, if I type this, I see Scraper and Scraper extension. I simply search for Scraper extension. And the first thing here is the Scraper extension. And you see the blue button saying Add to Chrome. Simply click there, and it will ask you whether you want to install this, and it tells you that you can access your data on all web browsing, and it can access tabs and stuff like this. We want to do this, right? Because we want this application to be able to get information out of the web page we're viewing right now. And as soon as you install this, there's going to be a green tick mark, and it tells you, okay, this plugin has been installed and is ready to use. There's also a small bubble at the top and say, hey, you got this new extension. So let's go back to the web page. This is our web page, and Scraper extension works very, very simple. I don't need to know about HTML. I don't need to know about the underlying code, at least if I have simple extractions. The only thing I need to do is mark an area that looks like the thing I want to have extracted. So I mark this one line, right-click, and you see there is a new menu button here that wasn't there before, and it says Scrape Similar. This is what I want to do, and it probably will tell me to reload. Oh no, it doesn't. I probably need to reload the page, and then say Scrape Similar, and it will extract the information out of the table, and you can see a preview of what it will extract here. So you see that there is a lot of information we actually don't need, like this and this and this. But there's a lot of information here. And that's actually the table. So what we need to do is we need to clean this up as well afterwards. And if you're in this view, so this is the scraper console. This tells us what how our scraping would look like in a table. And I'm good with this because cleaning up in the spreadsheet is much easier than fiddling around here to get the scraping just down to what we need. Everyone follow me? Some people look lost. Where are you lost?
At the beginning, that you start to
Okay. So did you have this web page? Did you mark a column, a row, and right click, Scrape Similar? Everyone? Anything that's in the area that looks like the thing you want to extract from the web page. In our case, this is a row or part of a row or just one single data field. No, unfortunately, it does not exist for Firefox. I was talking to a person writing something similar for Firefox, but I haven't seen it released yet. So unfortunately, it's only available for Chrome. Everyone? So right-click, Scrape Similar. This will take you to a window that looks like this. On your computer, it might open an extra window, so it looks slightly different. In my computer, it's automatically full screen. So you have stuff over here that tells me how the different columns look like I get from this table. We're ignoring this for the moment. We will work with this later. This is more advanced. But it will have here a preview of how the table it extracts will look like. And we see there's a lot of additional stuff. Like we got a lot of additional stuff when we did this with the spreadsheets. Does it work? It doesn't. This window doesn't show anything. Okay, so if you did not reload the web page before marking, try reloading the web page before marking. Because if you just installed the scraper extension, it cannot yet access to the information. Did you try to reload and then? It was for the reloading? Yes, everyone? Everyone? Works? Perfect. Good job. It doesn't work for you? Did you try reloading the page with the data? And it still does not work?
No, it's white. It's like this, but everything white.
You can try reloading. Can you try press Ctrl R in this window?
Oh yes.
So this window sometimes gets stuck as well. This is one of the tiddly bits. If this window does not react and doesn't show anything, you can also try reloading this window, because this is actually a browser window that just doesn't look like a browser window. And for this, you press Ctrl R on Windows and Linux computers, and the Apple R on Macs. And then this window will reload. So I can try this. This window will reload and magically show things. So sometimes, I don't know why, but sometimes this extension gets stuck while trying to display this window. Simply reload this by Ctrl R or Apple R, and then it should show something. So one thing this thing offers me is a button on the lower left saying export to Google Docs. Unfortunately, this is one of the few. This is the only way to get the data out of the scraper extension. And so we simply click on export to Google Docs, and it will ask us to authorize. Now my internet is slow because everyone is doing this. It will ask us to authorize the addition to Google Docs, and if we say yes, it will open a new. Does it work? I just need to change Windows. It asks me this, whether I want to grant access to the scraper extension to my Google Docs. I say yes, because I want this to be here. It starts a new spreadsheet, and it fills in the information in the new spreadsheet. And there we go, and have the information in the new spreadsheet. Yes, you had a question?
Can you repeat it from the district windows?
Can I repeat Can I do it again?
The column window.
So from here?
No,
from this?
the gray window. Yes,
From here?
that one.
Let me close this. This is, okay. So from this, you press on export to Google Docs. And the first time you do this, it will open a separate window in your browser and ask you to authorize ScraperWiki to write to your Google Docs. Not ScraperWiki, it's the Scraper extension, sorry. The Scraper extension to write to your Google Docs. If you allow this, it will take a while, and there will be a new spreadsheet in your Google Docs filled with the content of this. You need to allow the access, yes. And it will open up, and you have a new spreadsheet. So this is actually getting a table out of a website without needing to know formulas and without needing to know about the HTML structure. Yes, you had a question.
Those are not numbers, those are text.
This is text, these are not numbers? Oh, this is interesting, yes. What we need to do then is to mark all the numbers and format them as a number. And then they should actually be numbers. Are they not numbers now?
Takes a look.
No, still not. How can we do this? Why does this not work? This is a good thing. I have actually, if we reformat this as number, it should work, but for some reason it doesn't. No. The spreadsheet doesn't think this is numbers. The spreadsheet, that's correctly remarked by him. The spreadsheet thinks this is text. But actually, reformatting this as numbers should tell the spreadsheet that this is text. Let's try to do this. I delete this rows.
We will have a space, training spaces.
I know why. I know several reasons this is. For one, we have the dot for a 1,000 separator in Spanish, right? This confuses this, and probably there's some extra spaces in there as well that makes it difficult. In this case, we probably need to go and clean this up by trying to remove the dots. So one of the things would be we could open this in Google Refine and change the formatting, or we simply go in there and do this manually. But this is a pain in the ass. We need to do this. Does this work?
To take out the point is just
to take out the point?
In edit menu, you should select all the cells.
Okay.
Edit. And find and replace.
Find and replace. Find a dot. Replace with nothing. Replace all.
And then you can remove also the spaces.
And the spaces. And now we should be able to format this as a number and have it recognized as a number. Does it work? No. Still not recognized as a number. There's still, why is there still spaces in there? For some reason it does not work. So what we see here is a common problem we encounter when doing this. The text is not very well formatted. So we need to do some cleaning up after we extract the data. I think later on one of the next workshops will be a workshop on Google Refine that goes into details about how to clean up data. So in this case, having all this, I would simply save this to my computer, put it into Google Refine, and clean it up there, because Google Refine has good functions for saying, hey, I want to clean all the white spaces from there, and I want to remove all the dots and make the dots go away, because actually we know that these are whole numbers and the dots are there because it's the 1000 separator in Spanish and so on. So in this case, I would actually change my workflow and go to Google Refine and clean up my thing there and put it into a spreadsheet again after I've done this. But I think there isn't there? I have 15 more minutes, I was just told. This is an English spreadsheet. This is
English UI, but the spreadsheet itself has a file.
okay. I usually work with English spreadsheets because otherwise I get confused with the dots and the commas all the time. So I usually stay with this. And the scraper extension doesn't know the language of the website it came from. So that's certain things. That's certain things that for sure can be improved there. But it gives us something to start working with very, very easily. Let's look at more complicated websites, and this is the last thing I think I want to do with you. Let's look at websites that are not simple tables but are a little more complicated. And one of the examples I prepared is the Internet Movie Database. Where are we? They for sure like us to do this. So this is the entry for an actress in the Internet Movie Database. I was recently told actress doesn't exist anymore. It's actor. So this is the entrance of a female actor in the Internet Movie Database called Asia Argento. She's the daughter of a crazy, crazy horror filmmaker in Dario Argento. You know him. And what we want is to have a list of all the movies she starred in. So this looks like a table to us, right? But if we look at the HTML code, we see that this looks very different from a table, right? We have a lot of these div things, and we have this div thing, and so on, right? So this doesn't look very much like the table we worked with. This looks very different. We see that here we have, where's the entry we chose? Here we have this, and then we have a year here in a different thing, and then we have the text here in a different thing. We have some link here in a different thing, and so on. So it looks different from what we were dealing with. Luckily, the scraper extension can deal with this very, very easily. And this goes back to your question, what are different structural elements we can extract and we can query for in our spreadsheet. So we could query for diffs, but querying for diffs, because this is a very commonly used element, will give us a lot of garbage. So we actually don't want to do this. And in this case, I would pull out the scraper extension and do some more complicated stuff with the scraper extension. So let's mark some of the entries and say, hey, this is what we're interested in, and go and say scrape similar to get a basic idea of how this would look like. And you can see that this actually doesn't look very good, right? It says height, show actress. Then we have a list of things up here. This actually didn't work really well, huh? And then we have her as a director, and then we have a nice formatted list down here. But it doesn't really do the thing we want to do. So let's close this and just focus on one thing. Let's focus just on the title of the movie first. Only one. And then we get this list where we get the title of the movie and a link or a part of a link to the movie. This looks a lot better. And you don't, do you have the title?
Yes. Just the title. And
so you just have the title? Yeah. Very good. So you see there's something wrong. Or there's something slightly different the way you do it. Now, we have only looked at this side of the scraper extension so far. I want you to pay attention to this side right now, which is the side we will be using. And the thing we will be using to dig around in our document is this little thing, this little box up here, saying XPath and then some gibberish things. Anyone recognize what's in there? What is the thing that's written in there?
where?
See this? No, it's not an URL. It looks like a URL, right? But it's not. It's what the marks, exactly. This is the HTML text. This is called the XPath, and it tells our computer how to look at the document to find the elements we're interested in. So it says to our computer, look at the third element of type div. Then look at the second element of type div. Then look at every element of type div below that. So we put a long chain of things. And then look at every element of type B up. And I can try to make it bigger. Yes, this is a website. This goes bigger. And then look at every element of type A. And if we go back, you had a question?
For instance, in this page, we have many pages, one other. We can do that automatically, or we have to charge in each page all this process.
This is a very good question. So he asked if we have multiple pages of content, do we have this? Do we have to do this multiple times? Unfortunately, with this extension, yes. So if you have things where there's multiple pages, and if it's more than you can easily do, the only way to go around this is actually to learn how to program this and script this to make this automatically. Luckily, from here to being able to program it is only some tiny steps, and I can quickly show you this in the end, because this is basically already telling the computer how to find things in the web page. So the only thing we need to tell the computer before that is where to find the web page and how to analyze it, and that this is an HTML document. So basically this tells us, if we go back and look at the HTML here, this tells us to find exactly this thing in the document. Recognizes, so BA, and then we look at div, and this is the second div, and this is the third div in a row. So this basically tells our computer how to go down the complicated document and find exactly what we want. And the good thing about this is we can play around with it, right? Not this. We can play around with it, right? We can, for example, remove the A and say scrape. And then I only get the link. I don't get the URL anymore. Let me remove this. Or we can even remove the B, and then we get the whole entry. See this? Maybe I can I move this? See this? We get the whole entry here. Everything that's written in one of these boxes. Let's go back to the box. Everything that's written in one of the boxes, we suddenly get out. All right, if we remove the B as well. And we can add the B again, and then only have the title. And if we look at this box, you see that there is this span document, this span tag, right, which is for the year. So if we instead of, let me close this and this, instead of writing the B there, we write our span there, we only get the years. So this tells the computer how to extract things. But we want to extract the title and the year of the movie, both in the same thing. So how do we do this? And I want to add another thing to this. I want to turn your attention to this field, right? This is the columns we want to extract from our elements. We know that span is the year, and we know that B is the title, right? So what we do is we move this and say, yeah, by the way, we want to have the first thing, which is called title, to be B, right? And then we want to add another column. That's probably this. We want to add another column called span, and this is the year. Remember, B was the title, span was the year. And then we go and say, script this? No, no work. Let's try without this. It works without the slash. So we tell it the element B contains the title, the element span contains the year, and then we get a nicely formatted table out here that has the year, the title, and the year. So scraper extension, by playing around with this expression, we were able to extract data out of a more complicated structured element. So something that's not a proper table, something that is a weirdly structured thing. So we could also search the website for images, for example, and get URLs from images. We can search the websites for links, and then contain the links, include the links to the movie titles. Let's do this. Yeah, exactly. If you look,
If you don't know very well that code, it's complicated.
but you can look. So what I always do is I look at the code, and I see these elements in here, right? And this is the elements I start playing with, because you see the span, you see the B contains the title, right? If I hover, you see the span contains the year, right? So I try playing around with this in this expression and get this out. So what I want additionally is to get the link here to the movie. And I do this by putting A, B, and A. So I know that below the B is an A. Remember this? Below the B is an A. So inside of the B, there's an A. And I say I want to get the URL of this. And let's see whether this works.
Yeah.
No. This works? No. Do I have to finish? Oh, no. Just now when it starts getting funky and I get hung up here with the link. So let's wrap this up. In this quick workshop, what we did is we found information on the internet that was not for us in a format to work and brought it into a format that's easier for us to work. There's some cleaning up to do, and I would recommend you every time you extract something to think about cleaning the data afterwards, because most of the time you extract it very nicely, but sometimes you have weird things in there, like see this year number, or the numbers are in a format our computer does not easily understand and thinks that these numbers are actually text and we can't do any calculations or any graphs with it because we can't do graphs with text or we can't do sums with text. So every time you scrape, check that your format is what you expect, and if necessary, add a step of cleaning, and you will learn how to clean, I think, in the next session with David. And you see that even though web pages tend to be complicated pieces of code, you don't actually need to know the code to be able to extract information out of it. And if you have more complicated things, simply by playing around with what you see in there, you can try and figure out to extract things. And this is actually the first step into being able to program. And so if you are able to successfully do this, there's only a few steps more until you're able to write this in code. And if you're interested, I'm around, and if you're interested, come talk to me, and we can talk about ScraperWiki, how to put this in code, and I can show you how to take exactly this thing to extract this automatically over multiple pages. with this, I thank you for your attention. I hope you got something out of this. And yeah, see you around.